So every build
So
type
this
has
is the
a little bit of
mercenary
a
system in
soft
season
spot, and
6.
mercenaries is a really good way of you can level them up in a way that can actually fill in that soft spot. And the other thing that we really wanted to make sure of is that they were always useful, right? And so as you play along the game, like you're interacting with them in way different ways than you would just by leveling up and using them basically as a power item, right? And so the way that we folded this in is far more robust than we've seen in other systems in the past. And yeah, I can't wait for Dan to show it off.
Awesome, yeah, let's dive into it.
All right,
So,
see the new mercenaries.
We can go to the first slide.
So there's
Awesome.
4
So
mercenaries.
We announced these characters at Gamescom.
And I'm sure they'll add
These are
more in the
4
next
mercenaries that
expansion.
you're going to meet as you play Vessel of Hatred. Early on in the campaign, you're going to meet Raheir, the guy in the middle, and you're going to lend him a hand in kind of tracking down these other characters, doing their quest lines, and unlocking them. And they're like really involved quest lines. They're pretty awesome. They have cutscenes. They have a lot of narrative and backstory where you kind of get to know more about these characters. And they have a lot of personality, so they're pretty interesting. And we really want to make them feel like characters that live in the world. They don't just sit in the hideout the whole time when you're running around, and you might see an event where they're actually participating in the event. So you may even run into some of these characters before you unlock them. Cool, so today I'm going to cover a little bit more detail than what we announced at Gamescom. I'm going to talk about playstyle and perk for each mercenary. I'm going to talk about reinforcements, which is a new way to interact with mercenaries. And then we're going to talk about bartering and progression at the end. All right, so I'm going to talk about the playstyles for each mercenary. And to start, I want to just show us an example of a skill tree. So every skill tree for a mercenary, at the very top, the starting node is their perk. And this is a passive bonus you get whenever a mercenary is hired into your party. And they're pretty awesome. They're really powerful. Hopefully when you hire a merc, you feel like they're changing the way you play. And then every skill tree has 6 skills and 12 upgrades. So let's dive into some examples. So for Raheir, he's really like the tank if you need someone to help protect you. And his skill tree is kind of split up into a tower shield, which is about getting in the thick of battle, tanking things for you, taunting. And he also has a round shield, which is sort of themed around being a holy protector. So the top node that you start with for Raheir, and this is when you hire him to your party, is Valiance. And what this does is basically if you take a lot of damage in one hit, he's going to fly in, negate that damage, block it for you, and he's going to knock down enemies. He's also going to grant you Unstoppable, so he can really save your life. So here's an example where this beast is going to hit me, and these guys hit pretty hard. So here comes, boom. So Raheir kind of leapt in, he negated that damage, and he knocked him down. So that's awesome. I imagine hardcore players will
be able to
gravitate towards this unless they are risk takers.
It's
So
really good.
definitely a very powerful perk. Cool. Let's talk about some upgrades. I think we skipped ahead a slide if we want to go back one. There we go.
Okay.
Cool. So here's some upgrade examples on Raheir's skill tree. The first one, Draw Fire. We're going to show a video in a second. Whenever I use a healing potion, Raheir's going to taunt enemies near him. So if you're in danger, you need health, it's going to help save you. Iron Wolf's Virtue, when Raheir's Valiance is triggered, he heals you, and his cooldown's reduced, so you can just get it to happen more often. And he has a shield throw, which some D3 Crusader players might love, where he chucks his shield, it bounces off some targets, and this kind of marks them, so you can sort of play whack-a-mole, and if you hit those targets, you'll get healed back. So it's another way to keep yourself alive. All right, cool. Let's check out an example for Draw Fire. So you're going to see I use my potion. The UI would help you show that, but yeah, I used the potion right there. Raheir taunted everybody. Sweet. I did not die, and I'm happy. All right, let's go to the next one. So Varyana, we call her the Berserker Crone. She is a reformed cannibal. She's got a pretty interesting backstory. I love her personality. She's kind of zany and crazy. She's also the cook for the mercenaries, and I don't know if I would eat her food. I don't really trust her. But her skill tree's kind of split up into 2 themes, dual wield axes, which is all about visceral cleaves and bleeds, and large mace, which is heavy slams. So you may be familiar with the massacre bonus from D3. Her perk is very similar, where basically you get this bonus. We could jump to the video. And as you kill monsters, you're going to see when I get 10 kills, the massacre bonus kicks in. It's going to show up above her portrait on the left side of the screen. So it should say times 10. Cool. I now have a massacre bonus started. As I build this up and I get it to higher thresholds, I'm going to get more and more movement speed. So you're kind of encouraged to play more aggressive, keep this going before it runs out of time. And it sort of snowballs into this fun gameplay where you're going really fast. So you can embrace your inner Sanic and go real fast with Varyana as your hired merc. All right, I got some upgrades for Varyana. So dismembering is, oh yeah, sorry. So this one, it's going to guarantee an overpower. She's going to knock people down, and you get a guaranteed overpower. So if you're playing Barb, it's going to be really useful. Reprisal is when you get CC'd, Varyana is going to leap on the enemy that inflicted it and knock them down. So this can also save your life. And no escape is Varyana does whirlwind. This makes it really big, and as she's spinning around, she's kind of grouping enemies up for you. So that can be a fun one. I think we show both. So yeah, dismembering here. So she's going to set us up. We get a guaranteed overpower. You do a bunch of damage. Sweet. That feeds into a lot of builds. And then we have Reprisal here. So I got chained by that monster. She leapt on them, knocked them down, basically canceling that for me. All right, cool. Subo the Bounty Hunter. He's themed on longbows, which is precision shooting and traps. The other side of his tree is crossbows, heavy bolts, and explosives. And his perk is kind of broken up into two parts. So he has a passive component, which is he reveals enemies and materials on the mini-map. And his active component is that we call him the Bounty Hunter because he's going to call out targets during combat. And if you kill that target, you get a bunch of resource back. And also, the more you do that, the more often he's going to be casting Seeker. So you're kind of trying to keep this up where you want to make sure you're killing his targets and spending your resource before you do so. And this lets you just cast more abilities, which always feels great. All right, let's check out an example. So I'm in town. I'm going to walk out here with Subo. And you can look at the mini map, top right, and it's starting to populate with
look how good that is. You can see
and you'll see all
the herbs and the monsters.
Well. So
this to me is probably the best mercenary in the game.
Sorry, we're gonna have to loop this one because I talked too slowly. But he also is marking a target, and you saw when I killed them, I got a bunch of resource.
Yeah, I know a lot of people with Subo, especially because the fact that he highlights like ore veins and things like that.
Yeah, it's so helpful.
Pretty huge for people, especially with all the changes that we're adding to like how materials can also be used to maybe craft like legendaries and stuff. So Subo is kind of like my personal favorite, but
and Subo is the best one for like 90% of players.
Too, where mercenaries are really about utility, and they kind of add choices that maybe you wouldn't necessarily pick on your character. Or they help you just kind of like fill gaps in your build, or maybe encourage you to do, have more diversity in your build. Maybe
the Demon Child can apply vulnerability and burn,
all right, cool.
So it helps the Sork.
We're going to show off some Subo upgrades. So first we have Share a Drink, which is whenever he throws his Molotov, there's a chance for him to drop a healing potion for you. Mastermind, Subo's Wire Trap and Trip Mines gain 60% size. And then you and Subo both have increased crowd control duration.
That can be kind of nice for bosses like Fist of Fate.
Going to reduce cooldowns for every monster hit. So here's an example of Share a Drink. He threw a Molotov, he dropped a potion for me, and that can just help you more consistently.
It'd be nice if the potion would just appear next to your feet, because he's usually going to be further back, so I don't think people care for that one.
This is definitely a fan favorite. We call him the Forsaken Child. His tree is sort of split up into two magic types, Fire Magic, which is all about burning enemies and making them suffer, and Shadow Magic, which is haunting souls that kind of like apply dots and spread to enemies. His perk is dependent on what your skill tree choices are. So if you're on the fire side of the tree or the shadow, you will get different buffs and debuffs. So every once in a while, he's going to turn into a demon of one of those forms. If he's on the shadow side, you and all the enemies around him become vulnerable. If he's on the fire side, he's going to make it so all your direct damage applies burn to enemies, but it's also draining your resource. So he's really themed around this Kiss Curse mechanic, and whenever this happens, it can be a huge benefit, but also there's some downsides to it, potentially. All right, cool, so he's casting some fire skills. We're gonna see Aldkin on the left, he's turning into a fire demon. This gives him a whole new skill set. He's got immolation, he's burning nearby enemies, and he's helping kill everything. And then you can see when I'm doing direct damage, it's applying burn, but also my resource is draining. This is if I'm on the shadow side. He turned into a shadow demon at the top. He's going to do a cool ability where he pulls everyone into a line, lines them up for you. That always feels really good. And yeah, in that one, he's making everyone vulnerable. Sweet, let's talk about some upgrades for Aldkin. So I think this will be a lot of people's favorites. Ember's Gift, whenever he casts Firestorm, if you stand in it, you're getting 33% of your primary resource per second. And we're going to show a video of that in a sec. Terrify, he does Haunt. Yeah, thank you. He's got 30% chance to apply invulnerable to enemies, so another way to get keywords applied to things. And Burning Chaos, that's his ult. Whenever you cast your ult, it resets his. Wave of Flame is really cool. It's this giant fire wave that destroys enemy projectiles. You can kind of like run with it and fight inside of it, and I've seen a lot of people get use out of that. Cool, okay, let's check out Ember's Gift. So he's gonna cast Firestorm, and look at my resource. It's just flying up really fast while I'm standing in this area. So it's a good way to kind of have this happen, and then you just get to spam a bunch of abilities and murder monsters. So yeah, here's a quick example of, we do have a lot of keywords and ways for mercenaries to utilize them and spread them to enemies, so that can help with a lot of builds too.
Yeah, it's nice having an option to like add vulnerable to more enemies, especially like AoE, doing AoE or anything like that. So yeah, really cool to see. I know, of course, there's other mechanics with mercenaries that we did want to talk about. So Dan, do you want to jump into how reinforcements actually works?
Yeah, let's talk about reinforcements. So I guess before I explain reinforcements, there are two methods of using mercenaries. One is hiring them, and that's for solo players. So if you're playing solo, you're not in a party, you can hire a mercenary. Everyone at all times can also have a reinforcement. So if you're in a party, everyone has a reinforcement. If you're solo, you get both. And if you're playing solo, they have to be two different characters. So your hired mercenary has to be different from your reinforcement. All right, what the heck are reinforcements? So reinforcements are a new way to interact with mercs where you can kind of call a mercenary into battle, have them perform a skill at an opportune moment, and you get to sort of control when that happens. And this reminds me a lot of like old school fighting games where you can kind of cast an ability and a character will fly off screen, he'll do something really cool.
Marvel's Capcom.
Hopefully that helps you a lot, and
really awesome.
That's, I think very much inspired by that.
Yeah, it's like assists. They jump in, they do something, and then they like pop back out, so it's really cool.
So you're gonna choose an opportunity, which is when does it happen? You could link this to any of your action bar slots. So you could say, hey, when I press 1 and I teleport, the mercenary does this skill, and then you choose a skill that you have unlocked for that mercenary. All right, let's check out some examples. So this one's quick. I'm going to cast Teleport, and you'll see Raheir appear. And then he sort of flies in battle. He does this triple slam. He groups everyone up. Grouping enemies up is always good. Thank you, Raheir. I drop a meteor on their head.
But these have, the cooldown is still tied to...
Aldkin shows up and casts Firestorm for me. There's going to be a lot of combinations here, I think, with all the different player abilities and all the different reinforcement skills, so I think it'll be really interesting to see how players utilize the system. You can use it more defensively or more offensively, and hopefully you agree a lot of the skills give you added utility. So I think there's a lot of opportunities here to mix and match, which would be cool.
Another thing I'm excited about that is that the system is built to grow. And so our ability to add more conditions in which you bring them in and continue to grow potentially the powers that we could see too. It's a very robust system that can go a pretty long way, so it's great.
Yeah, cool.
Awesome. And I think finally we want to talk about some bartering.
Yeah, we're going to talk about
this is part of this.
Just the progression, and then bartering, but they're all, it's all tied together.
It's all one unit.
We're good.
It's all tied together.
Yeah, so rapport is the progression for mercenaries, and we could go ahead and jump to the first slide. So this is what the rapport looks like. You may be familiar with this type of UI. In this example, we're rank 5. The first 4 skill ranks are how you get your skill points for the skill tree. We want you to unlock all the cool, fun abilities for mercs pretty quickly and up front. After that point, it's all about upgrades for bartering. And bartering is, we're going to show it off in a second, but progressing your mercs improves the bartering system, which is kind of a way to trade with mercenaries at the hideout and get really useful items. So the very last rank, we hovered over it quickly there, you can actually repeat the very last rank for mercenaries and continue to earn the currency. So if you say, hey, I really like Aldkin, I don't want to level anyone else up, you could just keep playing this character and you'll keep getting resources. Hopefully we're encouraging you though with these upgrades to kind of rank up all your mercs and keep making bartering better. All right, let's talk about bartering. So at the hideout, you can talk to Fiera, and she will pull up a UI where you can trade for items. A lot of them are legendaries, and as you upgrade your mercs, you're gonna.
You wouldn't want to buy any of the yellows. It's so bad.
Find more interesting things. Hopefully, you can find some really cool legendary items that you're excited about.
You can also get greater
as you upgrade your
affixes, by
mercs,
the
you're
way.
going to get more chances for legendaries. And each mercenary has an aspect category associated with them. So Aldkin, for example, gives you resource aspect caches. So if you level up Aldkin, that has a chance, instead of getting a resource legendary, you're going to get a resource legendary aspect cache. And in this case, we open one of those caches. Sweet, I got a bunch of items. It's not exactly target farming, but it's a way to increase your chances of things you may be looking for. There's going to be a lot of other.
And you're
really
just going to
useful
get
items
these
in here,
regardless.
like, crafting materials,
it's still
boss
worth it.
summoning parts, some masterworking recipes, things like that, and.
So like masterworking, boss material, you can get runes off of these.
The currency you re-roll this inventory with is the same currency that you're spending to buy items. So you kind of have to pick and choose, like, do I want to re-roll or do I want to wait?
It's not that expensive either to get the
hopefully
items.
You see things that you're interested in and you buy them.
Very
and then
reasonable.
every day when you log in, you get one free re-roll. Just trying to be nice to the players. Hopefully you get what you want without having to waste all your pill
A whole day for one reroll. It's like nothing.
I think that's all we have for mercenaries today. So
it's all you're going to constantly.
Yeah, I love hearing about the bartering system because it's just another.
It's another way, especially for solo self-found.
It's
good.
Or if I need boss materials, I can.
I think they're going to probably just do a Q&A now, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up for my video. But let me know, guys, what you think of the new mercenary system and, of course, the bartering pale mark system, the rapport. I think it's a really good system overall. I just would like to see more so some sort of new ways to get power, because at the end of the day, it's just get the mythics. That's pretty much like the end game be-all power. But that's the way I currently see it. You guys let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know your thoughts on the mercenary and which one you plan to use. And we'll also drop a video guide on which one's the best. I'm going to maybe tell you a spoiler. It's Subo. Anyways, peace out.